We now know the enormous scope of data stolen from millions of American workers. Hackers likely from China, we're told, stole information on more than 21 million Americans through the Operation of Personnel Management, known as OPM. Some lawmakers are calling on President Obama to fire the head of that agency, Catherine Archuleta. A bit earlier today, I talked to Jason Chaffetz. He's the chairman of the House Oversight Committee on the Hill. Jason Chaffetz, thank you for your time and welcome back here to America's Newsroom. You want her to resign. She says she won't do it. In a conference call yesterday, she says she's staying put.
She should be fired. The president should fire her. Her incompetence is stunning. Her knowledge of the facts is shallow, and she has no vision and capability to actually solve the problem moving forward.
But you say she knew about this 8 years ago. And your statement yesterday afternoon said she consciously ignored the warnings. How's that possible? Because she's making the case that because of her that we know about this breach.
Absolutely not. The Inspector General year after year has been warning this. Last year they went so far to say this is of such great importance, there's such vulnerability, they should shut the entire system down. She knew that information. She had it. She was in our hearing. She said she heard that information. She denied it, said it shouldn't happen. Look, this is a 1960s system. It's a COBOL operating system with no encryption, no dual authentication. And in this day and age, come on, that's just totally inexcusable.
You're right. Statement from the call yesterday. She said, I'm committed to the work that I'm doing. I truly understand the impact this has on our current and former employees, our military personnel, and our contractors. Even if you get a termination, short-term gain. You think about United Airlines this past week and the New York Stock Exchange, the privacy of 20 million Americans, where they lived, their addresses, their family members, their relatives, personal health information. How do we make sure the American people can trust these institutions with their most personal information?
Well, in large part, they should have this information. I mean, part of the data goes back to people who applied for a security clearance back in 1985. If there's not an active investigation, why is the government continuing to hold this information? They should purge that information. They should wall this stuff off. So the basic cleanliness that the government is putting into the system, it's just not there. And it really does beg the question of why should you ever trust the federal government?
Yeah. What can you do about this?
Well, the president has some tough decisions about how to, what is the retribution? How do we fire back in this type of things? Because in many ways, it's sort of an act of war to come in and try to steal that information. What they do with it, you know, it's going to be, you're going to be some real tough policy implications. But there is sort of this ghost war that's going on back and forth. You don't see it. It's going over the wires. But I'm telling you, it is pervasive on every American.
You know, I mean, people watching this want to know who in Washington's going to make sure this doesn't happen again. I mean, when they first put out the word a couple weeks ago, we thought it was 4 million. It's 5 times that.
Yeah, I think they knew that number was a bit bigger than that when they first got going, and that's just what we know about thus far. Remember, at least the word on the street is that these hackers had been in there for more than a year, and these are just the ones that we know about. So you have to use the basic cleanliness. You start using things that are encrypted. There's a big discussion in Washington about should your phones be encrypted, not encrypted. The FBI and the others don't want it encrypted. I want it encrypted. I want my wife's phone to be encrypted. Those are the types of discussions we're going to have to deal with in this new technology moving forward.
And that is the last point I want to make, because you're raising the issue whether or not, you know, your personal information should even be with the government. Our lives are wrapped around technology, whether we like it or not. Last answer.
Be careful. Be careful. You don't need to put everything online. You don't have to be totally plugged in on every single thing. Be careful with your kids. My daughter's growing up in a generation, everything's online, and that scares me long term.
Jason Chaffetz, thank you for your time. We'll see what we do about it, okay, going forward.